All right. So this page that we're on right now, this is the landing page that everyone's going to see as they go to register for the event. So we have the name and the date up here, your description's here, and the description can be a whole lot of stuff in it. I just text, videos, pictures, documents, whatever you want in there, and you can make it as complicated or as not as you want. And then they'll have the option to register for the event right here. So this is going to start everything here. When they register, we have a few different options. What we're seeing here is the forced login screen. So what this one does is it forces the user to either tell the user and log in or to register as a guest. And this is so that we can know who they are when they proceed through event registration, and we can offer them member benefits or things like that if you have things restricted. The other option we have is called email lookup. And that page, all there is just a single input where they put their email, and then we try to match that one to a member account. So that's a little bit easier. It's less secure, but it's easier for the users to use. And then we can also go with no verification if you don't want to use any of the, like the members only features or anything like that. So these are all optional depending on what you want to do. Do you know right now how you'd like members to register for events, or if you have things like that, or is it pretty much just open to everyone?
For the golf tournament, it is just open to everyone. But for some of our other events, they have to be a member to register.
Okay, that's great. We actually have that as either a global setting you can turn on, so you can turn on something like this, or we can do a per event thing. If you just want to make a single event members only, you can do that also. So that sounds like great, would work for your needs.
And is that something that you set up? So we need to provide you with that information?
No, you guys would set up your events, although I think I talked to Larry, and I think that we are going to set up your first one. I'm not 100% on that, but that's always a service we can provide. But you guys will be responsible. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, because that may be something I need to talk to Larry about, because I was under the impression that you were going to set up events, that you were going to help.
It's definitely a service that we offer, but our system's set up to let you guys do it yourself. So, okay. So I mean, that would, like I said, that'd be a question for Larry or Chris to take care of. But either way, I know that we can do both. So. Okay. But yeah, so what we're looking at here is an event that's already been set up. So we're past that point already. And I also wanted to mention, I'm not going to go through like a training in this one. Brad's going to help you guys with that later. I just want to get an overall, give you an overall thing of how it looks and how it's going to go, and then make sure that we can do all the stuff you need here. So from this page here, I'm just going to register as a guest so I can show you some of the extra options. And then on some of these pages too, this is how they look right now. But we're actually rolling out a redesign to these probably in about the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to show you those pages instead. So this is how it will probably look for you guys for all of your future events. These are all responsive. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's much better.
Oh, so thank you.
Will it pull up existing information for members that are already in the system?
Yes. Yes. So if we have one of those verification methods, so we either force them to log in, or we ask for their email, then if it does connect to a member account, it'll automatically populate all their information into these as much as it can grab.
Okay.
I just wanted to do a guest one and show you some of the additional options that we have here. These are all, I should mention, these pages are all responsive. So if I shrink this one down here, let me catch up. You'll see it adjusts to the size of the screen. So people can register on their phones, tablets, mobile devices, all sorts of stuff like that.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to continue past this page. Now, since I registered as a guest, we have an option, and again, this is totally optional. You can include this or not, but we have an option where you can include, ask if they want to join as a member as part of registration. So I'm not going to go through that right now, but I just wanted to show you that that does exist, and they can pick their member plan and some other options that members would pick at sign up, and that will automatically add that into their event registration invoice.
Do we need that, Brandy?
I mean, we always want to sell memberships. It's only $50, and I think when people go to this screen, they'll see, man, it's only $50 for a membership. If they are registering as a guest, probably could, you know, collect a lot of members that way.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just a free option we can turn on or off for you, so there's no additional charge for that at all.
Okay.
This is the main page where they're going to pick what they sign up for. And again, this is the old version. Go to the new one here. The first part is going to fill in with some attendee information. And there's some, you'll see this says alt and alt here. We have different ways that you can rename things. So I believe that these are the organization and the title fields, but you can rename those to anything you want. Same goes for the word attendee, the word package. You can replace a lot of that stuff with your own specific verbiage per event if you want to. Now, the way that we work is we have a package where an attendee will select one package out of any number that you offer, and then they can select fields that will come up based off of that. You'll see here as I click some of these packages, we get additional fields that show up. So what you're able to do is to, like, so, because Larry said one of the things that you guys do is you offer a sponsorship, but also the opportunity where they can sign up to golf. And so we can offer totally different fields based on the golfer one or based on the sponsorship one. So you can totally tailor those to what you're looking for.
I like that.
Good. So is that something like, was that one of your concerns, or does this look like that'll meet that?
Yeah, that was a concern
Okay.
of having to do that, and that looks very simple and yeah, I like that.
And they can choose multiple fields, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, they can only choose one package. They can choose as many fields down here as they want. So whatever's available down here, but they're limited to one package for whatever they pick here. And
So
you'll see also that we can. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There are, there are companies who will buy multiple packages. Like they'll want to do the golf team, but they'll also want to do a beverage card, and they'll also want to do a cooker station sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, you want to give the option to select multiple packages.
The best way to handle this one, though, would be to have one overarching package that they pick and then have them pick options within this. You'll see here I did this with the gold and silver one. You can have some that are shared, so like you'll see the sponsor name and the badges will be shared between the two, but that gold program sponsor blurb is specific to that one. So we could share some sort of stuff like that. But really, if you can limit them to one package, that'll make everything a lot easier. And then tie the field specifically. So like they sign up for a sponsorship and then pick, I want this option and this option and this option to go with it.
that won't work, Bill, because you have different event information for a gold sponsor and different event information for somebody who's going to have food. So you have a food sponsor who's just doing food, and you could have somebody that's just playing golf, and you could have someone that's doing both. Their company is sponsoring food and they're playing golf. So their package, they'd have to go in and select the gold, and then another package would be food. Is that correct? You'd have to do it at the package selection.
We don't necessarily have to do it at the package selection, though. For example, where did I set this one up? Oh, I set it in the golfer one. So we could have a package that says sponsorship. And then within that, you could say, I did this with the purchase t-shirt one. You could have this one say food sponsor. And if they click that box, we can have dependent fields based on that. So you could have them, only see these. So like if they see this, if they pick a sponsorship, then they get this set of check boxes. Like, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? And then only if they check the checkbox do those dependent fields then show up for those ones.
Okay. So then, Brandy, we could, would it work to have,
really, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Would it work for like the gold sponsor? We want them to be able to do everything at once. So it sounds like we can put the event information and add the different carts and all the options, but then we may have somebody that just wants to do a food cart, and so they could do a package of just the food cart.
See, this is the problem that we ran into with Cvent, because Cvent 2 was forcing us to do the package selection, and it really doesn't work for our event because people are going to register for the event for different things. People are going to register for the event as a volunteer. People are going to register for the event just to cook food. People are going to register for the event to, let's just say ABC company, their marketing strategy is we want to put 2 business development persons on golf teams, and they can invite their customers. And we want to put our office admins working the station sponsor, and then we want to put the rest of our salespeople running a golf cart. So it's not like we have one specific package, no matter what you name it, call it gold, silver, whatever. We don't have one specific package that would be able to, there's no way to customize a specific package because every single participant's needs are different. And so what
if then, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. What Stephen was able to propose to us was that we'll just have a registration button, which would be your package selection. And under that, you can check off any and all ways that you want to participate in this event. So yes, I want to get a party. Yes, I want to get a golf team. And yes, I also want to register as a volunteer. Does that make sense? But unfortunately,
actually,
we're not
okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's actually what I was going to sort of propose here. Instead of using multiple packages, if we just went with one and we had a bunch of fields, we had like say 5 or 6 check boxes like interested in food, interested in sponsorship, interested in golf, and then when they check the boxes, then all those additional fields tied to that one. Would that work?
Yeah, that'll work as long as we can have a quantity by each item. So how many volunteers are you wanting? I want to register 3 volunteers. How many golf teams do you want? I want 2 golf teams.
I see. Okay. So what we would end up doing in this one then, I have a price tied to this checkbox, but we wouldn't do that. We would use these checkboxes purely to have them open the stuff beneath them. So I think I made a numeric one somewhere. Yes. So we would make a checkbox like that would then open fields, and then we could have numeric fields like this. So this one just says how many sponsor badges do you need, and we can adjust that to whatever. So you would be able to do that with the additional attendees as well. Or I'm sorry, with the additional fields and stuff that you have. So you could ask for how many you want of each thing.
That would work.
Okay. So really then, what it would look like when the attendee came up, they would see this first set of fields up here. They would see one single package that would automatically be checked, so they could pretty much just ignore this part. And then they would have a series of just check boxes at first here. And then as they check the check boxes, then the different options for what they picked would appear here.
Yep.
Okay, good. That sounds perfect. Let me just make a note of this so I don't forget later.
And we've got to be able to enter in names of the participants at some point. Is that a different screen, or can you drill down into that level of detail with this as well?
It depends on exactly how you want to do it. So this page right here will capture information for exactly one attendee. So this is going to capture information from me right here. You can either, once I submitted this and added myself as an attendee, it would show me a summary and it would say, do you want to add another attendee? So then I could add another person that way. And that would add everyone as attendees. So when you look at your reports, you would see every single person registered as an attendee. The other option, it's not quite as good, but if you're just collecting data, it's up to you, is you could just make fields that say, what are your teammates' names or stuff like that. So it's really up to you how you guys are going to use that data.
Do we need to know the names by the activity, don't we, Brandy? So we need to know who's the cook and who's playing.
As far as the registration process in, previous events, what we would like to see is we would like to see whomever is registering for this event to select their optional items, and then, check out all the quantities and what they would like to purchase, and then have the option to go back and fill in who's going to be your volunteers, who's going to be driving the beverage cart, who's going to be on your golf team. But they don't necessarily have to do that right away at registration, because that can be very time consuming, and they might not exactly know who's going to be driving that beverage cart right when they're registering, or who's going to be golfing on their team. And so, we would like to, give them the option to go back and add that detailed information later. But obviously we would want a cutoff date, to get and collect that information from them. It might not be pertinent information that we need at the time of registration, but we want to make sure that they feel confident, they know for sure that they purchased their beverage card. They just need to decide later who's driving it, that they purchased successfully their golf team, and now they need to figure out which customers they want golfing with them.
Okay. The only problem that we have with that right now is that we don't have a process whereby an attendee can go back and edit their registration. As soon as they're done with it, it's locked in for them. Admins can go back and do this. So we have two options here. We can either try and build in a process like that. Again, the only issue with that is it will be extremely complicated and time consuming to write in something like that. And your event is at the end of June, is that correct?
Say that again?
Is your event at the end of June?
No, our event is September 25th.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I had under my impression that you guys needed your event built by the end of June.
We do need the event open. We need the event open 4 to 6 weeks prior to September. So we're looking
Correct.
mid-July.
Okay.
But
well, what I recommend here is, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to, you just said you can't go back and update a record? We can't go back in
Correct.
and update a record?
The attendee themselves cannot, no. An admin can do it for them, though. So that was what I was going to ask you is, how many people on average do you have signing up for this?
Boy, that's a surprise. That's a surprise to me. Okay.
So how many people on average do you have signing up? Can you get like a ballpark figure for that?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, are we talking like 100 or like 1,000 people? Or
no, we typically have about 800 golfers, and they're a 4-man team. So we typically have about 200 teams. And as far as other optional items, and I'm going back and look at the fall event, we have roughly about 25 station sponsors, about 50 cooker sponsors, and then you get into different whole sign sponsors, I guess about 30 or so. And then we're also selling mulligans, which are known as raffle tickets, and that is an unlimited quantity. And then we have unlimited shirt sales, but that's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay, but in terms of people, we're looking at about 1,000 people signing up, just like for everything in general that'd be going through the system.
Yeah, I would think that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my question. If it was just a small amount of people, it'd be much easier for you guys just to manage it yourselves instead of building this. But with that amount of people, I can definitely understand having to want them to go back in. I'm going to have to think about that and get back to you guys with what I think is the best way to pursue that. And I will warn you, that probably will eat up the great majority of your customization hours. So, I mean, we're probably talking at least 15, 20 hours to build something like this into the system. So that like I said, that would probably eat up the most of your customization hours. So it'd be up to you whether you wanted to do that or use them on something else. Let me think what else I want to say about that. Now, are we talking about, if I register myself and a bunch of other people, the easiest way to do this would be to give access just back to that contact person, or are you wanting every single individual attendee to be able to edit their stuff?
Well, whomever is registering for the event, they are really the only person that needs access to go in and edit that information or add their golfer name later. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay.
So like the top person's name there might be the corporate sponsor. You might call it that, or the team captain or something. The attendee information.
Okay.
Attendee, that's like the team captain, if you will.
Okay. All right. Well, let me. I'm going to take some time tomorrow. Then I will come up with a plan on the best way to sort of grant these people access, and sort of let you know what that's going to entail and how that process will work. And then we can go back and forth and make sure that fits your needs. Did you guys have any ideas in mind of how you'd like to grant people access back to this?
In the past, what Stephen has done for us is once that registration is complete, they're assigned a confirmation number, and from that confirmation number or their email, they can log back in and then kind of fill in the blanks for that detailed information. After they register, once they check out, they receive an automatic email that includes that confirmation number, and it's also basically a receipt. It kind of gives them instructions as to what happens next. If they are allowed to modify their registration, they can go back in and add those golfer names, add the beverage card driver's names, and make any, upgrades that they need to make at the time. But basically, it's just kind of like, you've successfully registered. This is your confirmation number for future use, and you have until, let's say, June 31st to, enter in your golfer names, or enter in, the beverage card drivers, or whatever information that they, need to go back in and put in, later.
Okay. We have something similar. We have a confirmation email that automatically goes out once they finish registering, and that includes all that same kind of information. It has the event information. It has what they signed up for. And in that email, I could also add a confirmation or an attendee number, something they could use to get back in, and then a link to get there. That'd probably be the easiest way to start the process of getting them through there. Now, in terms of invoicing, do you want to allow them, when they come back at this later point, do you want to allow them to to change to other things? They could completely change their registration, or to take things that then cost money, or do you want to limit this to only things that have no monetary value attached to them?
We like to get the system as automated as possible because, participants do have changes. So after they register, they might call, the committee chair or their co-chair and say, hey, by the way, I need to add one more team. If someone has to go and manually enter or make changes to that registration, it just causes us more work. We're a 100% volunteer organization, and so therefore we usually give them a 2-week time window to modify their registration as needed. By the time, we get to the end of that 2 weeks, most people, it's set. Just done. Whatever changes they had come up after they registered are usually able to, fix within those 2 weeks. If they can't fix them within those 2 weeks, we have a cutoff. I mean, we're like done. So let's say, for instance, I register for, 3 golf teams, and I realized, a couple of days in that I'm not going to be able to, fill my 3 golf teams. And so I need to go down to 2. The event was able to have an on-off button where we had a choice where we would allow them to go back and modify their registration, and it would automatically refund their credit card, or automatically, if it's reversed, charge their credit card if they wanted to add another team. And so then you're getting into inventory, right? We want to make sure that we don't oversell on items that do have a certain amount.
And that where we do, and that's why I asked, we run into major problems then if we're talking about automatically refunding or they can run through the process, the payment process again. But if we're talking about, going through and then automatically refunding them parts, that will add a whole lot more complexity to this one. And that would be the main reason why we haven't built something like this before, is because it can play havoc with somebody's invoicing system, especially if they're pushing things to QuickBooks or Peachtree or anything like that. If they have people constantly going back and adding new things and taking things away and refunds and stuff, it will really mess with their accounting. So that's why we have to be very careful with how we do that.
We can hold the record for the 2-week period and not actually go through the financial transactions, couldn't we?
Not currently. I mean, they have to, when they register, they make their payment at that time, or they indicate to you that, okay, I'm going to pay at a later time. So they could do something like that, and that'd be the easiest way if you're going to allow them to change anything, is to have them not pay until they're completely done and just indicate, a check payment, or I'm going to pay at events, or I'm going to wait until later to pay. So like I said, anytime we start dealing with anything that starts to mess with money, it just amps up the complexity. Because then we're dealing with trying to have it automatically refund money and try to get that to the right card and everything. And, so it does get very, very complicated at that point.
Right. And that's why we want it to be automatic, because someone's going to have to do it anyway. It's either going to have to be someone do it manually. Either way, that refund's going to happen, or that extra team sell is going to happen. You get what I'm saying? So either someone has to take the time to manually do it on top of their other responsibilities, or the system can do it. But either way, it's going to happen.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. If we want to have it automatically start doing refunds, I'd have to talk to Larry about that one, because I think that would go way beyond changing this one, just in terms of hours. Like I said, financial stuff is not fun to deal with in this manner, especially when you're letting people go back and change it or refund or charge new stuff or anything like that. So
Right. And we can
I think if we
shorten
were
that
going to do
time.
anything here, I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was saying that we can shorten that time if we need to. We can give them, 7 days. Like you have a week to modify your registration to kind of minimize, those, changes from happening. But the thing about CVIT is that, whatever credit card they used to register was the same credit card that they would use to either purchase another team based on whatever difference of transaction or to refund that same card back. It wasn't,
But with member,
but I don't know system-wise how difficult that would be.
yeah, MemberLeap's not keeping the credit card information.
Correct. That's what I was just going to say. We don't have the credit card information. So we can contact authorize.net and try to find that transaction, but it's not going to be, it's not, I don't know.
That's a difficult thing to do, to go back. You almost have to contact, if they make a change, they have to re-enter their credit card information, which may be okay. If you make a change, you re-enter your credit card information to receive the credit.
What would be the process in case someone would need a refund and it's not automatic? What would be that process?
We do have a process right now. It's only, do you know what payment gateway you're using? Like authorize.net or PayPal or anything like that?
We're currently using, we used to use Vantif, but Vantif got bought out by PayPal, and so it's a PayPal system through CVent. But we haven't selected the one we'll be using with your company yet.
Okay. Then I would suggest authorize.net. I know that we can do manual refunds through authorize.net. I'm not familiar with the details of it. That's handled by one of my coworkers, so I can talk to him about it and get some information. But I do know that we have the ability to do it with authorize.net. But it's really one of those like per transaction kinds of things, or I'm sorry, per payment gateway kind of thing. So we'd have to either build a new process for that gateway to handle the refund, or something like that. We always have the ability where you can refund it within the system, so that the system will mark it as refunded. But then someone would have to manually go back into the payment gateway and then refund that money from there.
Yeah,
so like I said, it really depends on how you're doing things and what exactly you want to let people do. And as we get into it more, I think you're realizing this is the reason we don't offer this ability right now, is because it gets so authoritative when you start getting money involved in it.
So if someone were to register for an event and then the next day they realized they needed to purchase an additional team, instead of modifying that registration, they would have to go in and add a brand new registration.
What we've had people do in the past and organizations do in the past is like set up a form where they would send it to an admin and say, hey, I forgot to add this. And then an admin would go in and manually make those changes for them. But again, I can see how that would be difficult if you're all volunteers and have 800 or 1,000 people here. But again, we don't really have a process whereby they can just change all that stuff for themselves right now.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to minimize, is the manual, workload. Especially like these events, because they're huge events. And, if we do get 800 people to register, it's not going to be 800 individual golfers that are registering. It's going to be 200 individuals, but then you'll have 50 of this and then 50 of that. So ultimately, we're talking about maybe 600-700 people that are registering for this event per attendee registration as the whatever items they select. And you might have 10% or less of those people who are actually modifying something, adding or subtracting some type of optional item. But that 10% too is going to have to fall back on, someone's shoulders and responsibility. And, to me, whether the system can do it automatically or it has to be happening manually, there's got to be a way that we could customize that part to cut out some of that manual workload. I mean, I would love to see that happen.
Like I said, anything is possible here. It's just the amount of time that it's going to take. And I'll tell you that anytime we use the word automatic and have it do something, you can increase the hours by like 10. just because you pretty much have to tell the computer and the system everything you want it to do in those steps. And when you do that, you also lose control over it because then it's handling it automatically and it's harder to go back in and manage it. So again, I mean, it really matters. It really depends on how much you guys want to pay for this and how, what are the really important things you want out of the system. So I can talk to my coworker about doing the automatic refunds, but I mean, I can tell you without even talking to him that it'll be a substantial amount of hours for that.
Okay, well, let's just see if the system can, process those registrations like we want, and then we'll, I guess, have to come back to how we're going to handle, people who need to modify those registrations, whether it's adding or subtracting, because it does have to be seamless and easy. These events are hugely popular, and in, the last couple of years, we've had, the old system, your membership, who we were using at the time, it was so popular that it was selling out within a day's time period, and that created an urgency for people to register quickly. Like, let me hurry up and get in my golf team, and because if I don't, then they might be full, and then I don't get a golf team, and my boss is really going to be upset about that. And so over the last couple of years, it's creating a huge urgency. And so the easier the registration can be, on the front end, it's probably going to be hugely, complicated on the back end. But to me, it's worth the time and the money to just go ahead and do the work now, because user friendliness is something that we've had problems with in the past. And we definitely don't want our members to be upset moving forward. We thought Member Leap was going to be great, but then it turned out it was like hugely complicated, and I was confused when I was registering, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, so I made a mistake, and now I have to modify my registration, and that was a whole other deal in itself. So that's just my opinion, Michelle.
No, I agree, and Bill, I think I'd appreciate if you would talk to Larry, because this shouldn't be a surprise to him, and so he hopefully has some ideas or some suggestions of how we were going to handle this, because this is not new information.
Well, what I had talked to Larry, and I think this is probably your best bet going forward, is if we allow people to come back in and we do allow them to change things that have dollar figures attached to them, then we basically keep that payment and hold it in memory. And if they take stuff off that results in a refund, then we could notify you guys. Somebody would manually issue them that refund. If they have an overage, so then they now owe more on this invoice, then it would take them through the payment process to put the rest of that on there. So I don't know the amount of volume of refunds that you think you'll be handling, but to me, I think that's going to be the easiest way forward, rather than trying to tangle in automatic refunds and payment stuff like that. That would be the easiest way to handle this stuff.
Brandy, and I'm wondering, we can talk about this offline too, but let's look at like what Bill is saying, how much refund we really are processing, and then if people are registering, maybe we can make try to make it clear. I know it never really is, but to tell them they can add but not necessarily delete, as long as they're just trying to hold a spot. I don't know if that would create a lot of issues or not.
Wait, say that again? I want to make sure I'm...
That they could add to their order, but not, take away from their order. Try to minimize the refunding issue. Is that been a possibility, or does that happen a lot?
Well, if we only get 50% of what we want out of, modifying the registration, that's a huge benefit. That's definitely, I'd be happy with that. If we can give them a way to add, another golf team or add another beverage cart, that would be great. And, the chair and the co-chair are just going to have to deal with issuing refunds. And, on a case-by-case basis, when I ran the golf tournament, I would say, only maybe about 20 people had a problem. And, that's why we started the 2-week time window, because we had people, who bought these teams, and then the week of the event, they wanted to give teams back and said they couldn't fill them. And it was like, well, I'm sorry, this is a nonprofit. This is a charity. We're trying to raise money for the scholarships. Unfortunately, we can't issue a refund at this point. And that's why we offered them deadlines. And so more people have been, they've been, excited about the 2-week time window to modify, because they went ahead and got their registrations, and then they knew for sure that they had 2 weeks to figure out what they wanted to keep or what they wanted to add or what they wanted to give back. And so it was like, almost like a courtesy, to allow them to modify those registrations within that 2-week time period.
Okay.
But after that, it was set. So yeah, if we could just at least let them, add, their, if they wanted to get all their, golf team golfers T-shirts out of that, add more raffle tickets, add in extra, beverage cart, sign up a couple of more volunteers. I guess, yeah, I'd be fine with that. And then, that would minimize the workload for the chairman if he didn't have to worry about that. And the only thing he had to worry about is doing the refund thing. Okay.
I don't know if you guys have seen the chat, but Paul has joined us, and it sounds like he's agreeing with what you just said, Brandy, that refunds or subtractions would probably have to be handled manually, but that what Bill was suggesting, that we hold the, if we're going to give them a week, let's hold the order for a week, and then we can process everything at once if they're going to update it. My only concern about that is would everyone have to go back in and give the credit card, or would that credit card information be held for a week?
Oh, sorry, I think I misspoke there. When I say hold, I mean just keep it in the system. That payment would process immediately, but when they come back and edit it, nothing they do would affect that payment at all. The only thing that would affect that payment is when you guys went back in and gave them a refund for anything if they needed it.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's a good.
That would give them the opportunity to come in and make any changes they need. And then really the only thing that you guys would have to worry about handling manually are any manual refunds that you'd have to issue.
Yeah.
And we can write a report for that. I can notify you. I can send notification emails if somebody changes their registration and they are owed a refund or anything like that. We can do stuff like that.
Okay.
Because then really we're just having them make changes to the registration. We're not dealing with any actual money at that point. We can still handle that stuff manually with the tools that are in there already.
Okay. I think that's a good approach, and we ought to develop this and test it so we can really kind of see. But I think that's the best thing to do right now. And maybe Brandy Lewis could give us an idea of how many refunds he had to deal with last year or something. Just if it was 10% or 20% of 200, it's 20 transactions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can run a report that would show how many modified registrations we had. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely make something like that. Sorry, just taking notes here.
Yeah, I'm writing down something too. I'll follow up with Lewis and find out.
All right. And I will also, once, probably tomorrow, I'll send you guys this, but I'll send you a recap of the potential changes that we'll make, and just so we have everything in writing and we can go back and forth on it and stuff and make sure that the things are okay.
Okay. But you have a good understanding now of how the actual registration should flow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where we can do the same things that CVent does or, stuff like that. We just do it in a slightly different way. So I think setting it up with just a single package and then putting all of your stuff under dependent checkboxes for things, that'll make it pretty clean and easy for people to get into what they want.
Okay. So just from a layout standpoint of this page, can we have pictures like for the foursome, or is it just the wording like this? Could you have different pictures for the different packages, or is it just a form?
No. Yeah, just a form on here. There is a spot up at the top of this page where you're able to enter verbiage that you want to. And then you can also, and you can put pictures and stuff up in that. It's right up at this top section. It'll be right above this.
Okay,
and then each one, you can also put a description in here. So we can get a description of the foursome and the sponsorship and stuff like that that people can see. And that would be a potential. If you wanted me to modify it so you could put pictures in this area, to definitely do that. I don't recommend putting them just right next to that, though. I'd hide them in this info thing.
Okay.
Although, you know, there is actually an option to force these info things to show, so people wouldn't have to click on them. So that'd be an option there as well. But I'm more careful with that because you get end up looking really funky if pictures get off center or anything like that.
Okay, so if we wanted a picture underneath the golf foursome, that's a modification that can be done?
Yes. Yeah, so right now this is just a text area. I'd have to make it into like one of our rich text editors that accepts pictures, but it would be possible to put it there.
Okay. What do you guys think? Is that worth
But although,
it?
I mean, you guys would only have one single package though, remember, so.
Oh, okay, so I couldn't put it underneath the event information then, the details.
Oh, so you'd want it like here, like one of these things. And we can put it in this area. That's definitely possible.
Yeah, so if I wanted a picture of a cart there, I could put a picture of a cart there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would be inclined to do that if that's not a big deal. Brandy or Paul,
Okay.
do you have any input on that? That we have that today. Pick in the bottom might say, yeah, that's true. It might eat up real estate. Well, today we have that capability, and it looks pretty good. Actually, it's one of the better parts of our website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this would be the most practical place to put them, is hide them in this info thing, if we did that. And that wouldn't take you longer, maybe an hour to do something like that. So.
Brandy, do you have a care? It looks like Paul just saying no. Don't put the picture down there. Just put it at the top.
I mean, I don't care either way. Whatever you guys think will be nice and cleaner. I mean, I'm okay with going with Paul.
Okay. All right, so we won't do that for now.
Okay. That's always something we can do later on too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, we want branding at the top. Yeah, we do want branding at the top. I just, you know, I like the use of pictures, and we have that now, and it does look pretty good, as opposed to this is just filling out a massive form. It's going to get pretty big. But let's develop it without it, and we can always go back and add if we want to.
Okay.
All right. Other than the golf tournament, the other event is scholarship. And with that one of the unique things is that we want to be able to attach and upload files. So
for the attendees to do that?
Yes, for a registrant. So we would just
100% have that option.
Okay, and that would just be set up under the event information or something?
That actually, once they proceed past this page, if you have, so basically when you set up an event, there's an option per event to say, allow file uploads in this event. So you tick that, and then you can set a min and a max. So say you want people to upload at least one document, but no more than 5, you could do that. Or you could allow them to upload unlimited or anything like that. They would be taken after this screen. They'll be taken to a screen where they can upload their files, and then they can proceed past that, and then we'll take them to the end of registration. And then we have a report that you can download either all the files from the event at once, or you can download them all per attendee or anything like that, and we'll zip them all together in a file for you.
Okay. Can Paul or Brandy, do you think of anything else? Let's see. Will they have to upload all the documents at the same time? So when
we talk about scholarship?
Yes.
Scholarship is a very complicated event. And the way that we ran the event last time, the uploaded documents were not only just for the students, but it was also, you know, for every student had to have, you know, 2 or 3 reference letters, transcripts, and, you know, that we probably need to meet on separately because it's such a unique, it's not an actual event. It is actual, you know, application process. We needed to collect these applications, and then, you know, it's like several different steps and several different phases. The problem we've had with running the scholarship through them is that they wanted to treat it like it was an event, like if it was a conference or something like that. And so we had to manipulate their system. We don't want to do that. And that was one of the advantages of going with Memberly, because you guys already have customers who also have scholarship applications and give, you know, money, you know, to different scholarship recipients. And so I wanted to find out how your other customers are running their, you know, scholarship, you know, programs. What do you currently offer, and then kind of toggle back and forth with what we're looking for.
You know, I've seen people use several different things to do that. I have seen people use event registration. The only problem is, like, you're right, it does follow this format here. You can replace a lot of the words, so like you don't have to use attendee, you don't have to use package. So I have seen people do it through that. I've also seen people do stuff like that through the online store. And that's only if they want them purchasing things, like purchasing materials or certificates or things like that. There's no real, the person doesn't really have an opportunity to upload anything to the store, though, so that might not work for you. But to be honest, yours kind of sounds like it might work best with our proposal submission system. Unfortunately, I know almost nothing about it other than that I know that people use it for things like that. My coworker Sean, though, he's the one in charge of that one. So if you want, I can connect you with him, and he can sort of give you an overview of what that system can do. But it's on the same level of complexity as event registration, so there's a ton of different things and different options that you have with that system. So that might be something, if you're looking for more of an application process where they upload things and stuff like that, you could sort of treat them as proposals that people are submitting. And I know that he can change all the verbiage in that module as well. So that might be the best bet for you guys in that one.
Okay. Yeah, if you could put us in touch with Sean, I think that would be good.
Yeah, make a note to do that.
From an event standpoint, then, Randy or Paul, can you think of anything else that, I think if you do the golf tournament, we've got the other ones kind of covered, but any unique things that we need to talk about for the fishing tournament or the skeet shoot?
I think the golf tournament is honestly our most complicated event, and the fishing tournament and the clay tournament, the way we've done those registrations kind of mirror how we've set up the golf tournaments in the past. And also the golf tournament will be one of our first big events that's going to happen after this website goes live. So it almost will be like a little guinea pig. I can't think of anything special that we would not be able to incorporate, you know, under what we're seeing right now that our wants and needs lie as far as the golf tournament for either the fishing or the clay. So no, I don't think so. I think, you know, making sure that the golf tournament registration is operating and functionally properly, and then the clay tournament and fishing tournament should be very similar.
Okay, good. Okay.
Do you guys have the registration information for your upcoming golf events? My idea is if you could send us that, I could send that to one of my coworkers, and he could start building your event for you. Because we can do that without your website being even built yet. And that way, we could set it up, and then you guys could actually look at it and see actually how it would look with the options that we've talked about today.
Yeah, we could probably use the snipping tool and go.
Or even if you have stuff from last year, we could look at that too and sort of set up a sample to look at and play around with.
Okay, we can get something over to you, no problem.
Okay, perfect. That'd be great.
And our website still has, you know, the front end of it, of the registration, so you can look at some of that.
Okay, great. I will do that. Let me write that down. Okay, cool. Yeah, I will look at that and send that over to Brad once we get that together. All right. Well, did anyone have any other questions about the event or frankly anything else that we talked about, or we haven't?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do then, let me just recap this to make sure I got everything. I'm going to sit down tomorrow and I'm going to write up a plan for the process that we can use to let people go back and edit their registrations. And it'll be detailed. It'll be like they'll do this, they'll see this, they can do this, so that sort of thing. I'm going to contact Sean and get him in touch with you about the proposal submission system. And then I'm going to take a look at your current website, and then you're going to send me the registration info from one of your events, and then we're going to start building a sample one that you can look at that'll be in the vein of what we've talked about today. Does that all sound good? Did I miss anything here?
Good.
I think that sounds good.
Okay.
And when you be, how long will that take? Do you know? When will you be getting back to us? We try to schedule.
I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Oh, okay. On everything. All right.
Yeah. I don't have time the rest of today, but I'll sit down tomorrow morning and come up with a plan. It's mostly I just have to sit there and think for 2 hours and write something up for you guys, and review all the code and everything. But I'll get back to you sometime tomorrow with that one, and then we can go from there and start plotting out when we're going to make the changes and things like that and get a good plan forward.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks so much, Bill. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks so much for getting on the call with me, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.
All right, have a good day.